Hey guys, welcome back to Jay's Flicks. I am your host Jay, and I'm here today with my friend Nick, and we're going to be recapping Smile 2, which is the latest horror movie to be released here in theaters in October. Great movie, sequel to one of the better horror films the last couple years, Smile, directed by Parker Finn. Nick, thank you for joining us to talk about this movie, man.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. It's an honor to come on here, man. You know how long I've been wanting to come on here. We love Jay's flicks, man. I love to hear Jay's reviews on all the movies that I see recently and the shows too. Jay's got it all covered for y'all. But yeah, Smile too. Let's get into it, man.
Yeah, yeah, Smile 2 sequel, of course, like I said, to Smile, which was yeah, a horror movie that came out 2022. I saw it. I thought it was an interesting twist on like a franchise. I mean, not, on a trope of movies that has we've seen, been done so many times, usually the same way, but this was different. You've seen the first one, you've seen both movies, so
Mhm.
um, tell us, man, like what is it about Smile, and how they've done horror movies, like how they did it differently. Well, what makes it unique?
I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of horror movies. It's not my favorite genre, but I do love a good horror movie for sure. Smile does it differently, at least from what I've seen. Is a lot of good like psychological terror that happens. I mean, you got your Saw movies, but that's like an external force. This is all like internally inside of your mind, and it's really cool to see that as well as like the close up shots that they do. You know that's like key to the Smile movies. It makes you like unaware of your surroundings. You don't know what's about to happen next in the show or the movie, I should say. But it really keeps you on the edge of your seat, man. And that's the good thing about Smile. This the psychological terror, like it's something that it's not like a murderer coming at you or anything. It's you versus yourself and you versus the voices in your head that are talking to you and everything. And I think that's what Smile does, like differently than any other movie. I know that like I've been recently watching Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's kind of cool to see like some of the similarities in a way because they got the psychological terror in like the dreams, and then it like comes into real life, which I think
Yeah,
is kind of a mix of what Smile is able to do.
yeah, definitely. It's like because normally horror movies, it's like it's like I said, it's an external force, right? It's like you go to it's your Conjuring type movies or movies like Insidious. Insidious, both great movies, by the way, but it's that's the way they do it. Of course, that's like how we already we're used to horror movies being done that way. Some type of house, haunted house, some things like that. This is different. This is an entity, yes, but it's also like you said, it's internal. It's eating at your fear, your guilt, all these things within you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone even say this is like something that even though the monster may be fake, but something that we deal with a lot in real life. We feel like there's something that is eating away at those that at our past, things like that. So Smile 2 focuses on a pop star. Interestingly enough, first
Mm-hmm.
one was about the doctor, right? And that like all that stuff. But this one, Sky Riley is her name. So she's a famous pop star, and she now gets the curse, the smile curse. And I found it very interesting. They chose to make her the main character, and put her in the lens. And we see how her life already is crazy enough being a celebrity, but then you add on this I mean this tragic monstrous entity. So what do you think about that? And her character.
Yeah, I thought it was perfect. I mean, we both seen the ending. We both know how they use the entity uses a pop star to kill herself in front of like the whole crowd of thousands of tens of thousands of people, which now will be in all of their heads. So I think it was perfect, and I think Naomi Scott killed this role. Me and you were able to talk on her beforehand, and I didn't even realize this, Jay, but Naomi Scott played in Lemonade Mouth. I didn't even realize that, dude.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
I mean, she's a great actress. I think that from like Disney Channel to a horror movie, it just shows how complex of a actress she really is. I mean, in this movie, she was able to nail like all the tragedy, all the shocked faces that she has to do. Just her acting was superb in this movie. I think that she's gonna get a lot more roles after this one. I think Jay would agree with me. But yeah, Smile 2 and Naomi Scott playing as Sky Riley was great. I think having the pop star was very, very. It was a good choice because in Smile 1, it was the psychiatrist or like therapist or
Mhm.
whatever, and that was cool at the beginning because this is the mental thing. So the main actress is a therapist that deals with emotions and stuff. But in this one, you have a pop star who, as we all know, they go through like a lot of crazy stuff throughout their lives. And in this movie, this picks up on a lot of things like, death of her boyfriend and, overdosing on different drugs and stuff like that. So I think she was perfect because that entity is able to feed off of so much that, like, I'm starting to think now if the entity didn't have that, like, traumatic of a person's life, who knows if the entity will be able to like make them go to the extreme of killing themselves. I think that like the psychological terror would do that to anyone, but I'm starting to think now that the entity is like solely going at people that have that trauma and to start off with. And now that she killed herself in front of everyone, that now it's like going to everyone and it can like truly feed on everyone's minds. And that's why I think that this was perfect to have a
Yeah.
pop star.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think it was a great choice. Definitely different. And like you said, because she's not just a normal person, she's already got all these things going on, especially not also to mention her mother, who also happened to be like her manager, who was also very pressuring towards her, like, hey, this, like that. And it seemed to be a lot for Sky. Like it seemed like there'd be times where she just wanted to be by herself and just be away from everything for a moment because being a celebrity like that, it's so much coming at you, at one time. Um, so yeah, she was a great pick. Naomi Scott, excellent, like you mentioned, she did a superb job. And also, dude, the water. I want to talk about the water for a second. Boss water. Shout out to Boss. Dude, she chugged so much water in this movie, and I found out those scenes were real. She chugged all that water in actuality. So I thought that was pretty funny, man. But
Nah.
interesting. What do you
She
think?
did chug a lot of water in this movie. If you guys, I'm guessing the people that watch this, y'all have already seen it. That's not just acting. Like that takes a lot of skill. I'm not gonna lie. So, but yeah, the Voss water was very good. It was very good ad, especially with it being like the glass bottle, because then you had like it falling on the ground, the glass smashing, but there was nobody in there, and it was all in her head, which brings up kind of the next thing that we can talk on is just like how much of this movie did we think was real?
Dude, yeah, like I still think about it like to this day. It's crazy, man. Because
Yeah.
tomorrow will be a week since I've watched it. But and it's like, dude, you don't know like what's because up to a certain point, of course, we when she gets the curse from her friend, the drug dealer Lewis, who Lucas Gage, great job in that role. It was a limited role, but he did a good job in that. If you guys might recognize him from Euphoria and You, but he, the weight scene, everybody knows about that, dude.
Uh,
Um, that was brutal. But she got the curse from that, and then I want to say up to a certain point, I believe that those things happening to her were real. Um, except though when
mhm.
her friend Gemma, uh, that was where I started to question what was going on. Because they had a falling out, and Gemma shows back up after Sky calls her once, she's there, but it's like I don't think she was there. So, what'd you think about all that? Like,
Yeah, it was very very shocking because for those of you watching, I saw Smile 2 after Smile 1. So I was able to kind of see that like in Smile 1 they kind of used something similar to Gemma whenever the therapist came to her house and she was talking with her, but then the phone rings and it's their actual therapist, and that's just been the entity the whole time. very creepy stuff, and they do the same kind of trope in this one, but I think that they did it even better in the second one because of how long that went on. I mean, in the first one, it was really just a scene, but in this one, I mean, you have the entity acting as Gemma for days at a time, and then in the car after she killed her mom and did everything else, then in the car, she gets a phone call and it's like the actual Gemma, and Gemma has just now seen her voicemail and text from days ago. So this entire time, it's been acting as her best friend and just feeding off of her, and it's really creepy. It does it in a really creepy and unsettling way that I really like about this movie. And yeah, dude, just Gemma and the one guy that was trying to figure out a way to stop her heart and stuff. What was his name again?
It was Morris. Morris.
Morris. Okay.
Morris.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I thought. So like, yeah, Morris, like, it's very interesting to think like if he probably is a real. I think that some of the scenes at the beginning were real, like when they saw each other in the bar and everything. But then like past that point, I don't know if he was real. I don't know if like whenever she hit him up, like if she really did that or if that's all in her head and then it was just the entity kind of leading her there because as we already know, I mean, in the end she is in that like tube thing coming out into the theater.
Yeah.
So none of that stuff that we just saw like the past day happened.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's a mind trip. It's like you have to really just pay attention, and you're thinking like, what? Because yeah, we thought that when Morris had said, "Hey, there's a way we can stop this thing. We just have to stop your heart," and that way it's a parasite. It needs a host and so, but we're going to revive you. And so when they go do that, after Sky, she, like you mentioned, she asked Gemma, who was really the demon, to take her to Staten Island to meet Morris. She gets there; it's really her driving, and she meets Morris. But then Morris just leaves that room. He doesn't come back. So I'm like, all of that was just a great scene. And then of course led to the final scene of her killing herself on stage.
Yeah.
you know, really crazy stuff. I really don't know what was real, what wasn't. I mean, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
how trippy it was, man.
That they did a great job at it, and that's why I'll forever say that the second one is better than the first one.
Oh yeah, 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 definitely. It was awesome, man. I really liked it. The kill scenes were better too. I think, like much more intense. Even though the first one, the girl, like carving herself, that was a good
Mhm.
one. But then I think Gage's character completely topped in the beginning with the him
Yeah.
smashing the weight up against his face. I mean,
And not to mention like first scene, I mean, we see a guy get hit by a car and
yeah,
his
and the
guts and
car too.
everything
Yeah, yeah,
spilled
yep.
out. I mean, this movie and this director and just this franchise in general, like they don't play when it comes to this kind of stuff, and I really like it, and I really do hope that they have a third one. And because I feel like if they do it right, this could be like one of the best horror trilogies, honestly. Um, that's just how good I really think it is, and I didn't really expect that. I don't think the first one is overly great, and I think that my family members who have seen it would agree with me. But I'm trying to get them to see the second one because it's one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. I don't and like that's crazy to say, and don't come at me because I haven't seen a whole lot of horror movies. But I mean, just the way that this is the perfect horror that I like because it's messing with your mind. It's not just like, hey, let me call the cops and this whole movie can be over. It's like no one believes you and what you're saying. Um, so I think I just love it, man, and I'm glad that we both got to see this movie. It's really good.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. And like I said, I think they did a great job with it, especially like a lot of those emotional scenes too. It kind of played at your heart too a little bit. I would say definitely like, um, it just, even when they flash back to when Sky and her boyfriend were in the car, and we found out that she actually caused the accident. Seemingly trying to get them both killed. However, she survives, right? And that's something that they keep kind of going back to. The entity keeps using that her past himself in the incident at some at to keep he keeps throwing that at her and making her feel that guilt so he can feed off of it. Just great, like characterization there. I love that. I love that aspect of the story. Um, and like I feel like we just got to see the way that it's like you almost felt like everything that Sky was going through. And it was just it sometimes I just felt like man, like you could see the true horror in her face. And like just she just was going through hell, man. Like and I think like I said, Scott played it perfectly. You know, it just it tugged, man. Like it tugged at me a lot, dude. I'll definitely say
Yeah.
that.
Because going into the movie, you know she's gonna die because she's the main character, and that's how these movies go. But it's just like you really don't want her to because you see like everything that's happening. And they did a good job of that in the first movie too. Her character in the first movie, her mom overdosed in front of her, and basically like she left her there to die. Kind of similar with Sky Riley, like kind of killing someone else, killing her boyfriend. So it was really good. The scenes were phenomenal because you just don't really know what's going to happen in them. And like for instance, like the whole scene where she had to give that speech, and like her lipstick gets messed up, and then the translate or not translator, but the prompter like just
Yeah,
goes blank and or stops, and then she has to like spew on about some crazy stuff, and it's just all in her head, man. It's just all messing with her, and then she ends up pushing the lady, and her dead boyfriend's up there. I mean, it gets crazy in the simplest scene, and that's what Smile 2 did really good.
yeah, right. Like what you just said there, like it bring so much out of like a simple scene, a scene that normally wouldn't. Yeah, you might see like she might see her ex boyfriend standing in the back of the room, like smiling or whatever. It's like, and then it's like that's it, right? And then then she keeps talking, right? But no, she's already just like you said, just screw up from the beginning. She didn't even want to do that event thing. She did it not in a good state at all. And she used that, and it
Mm-hmm.
was just, you know, it was phenomenal, man. Like I really felt for her, and then yeah, the way she went out, man. I mean, that was insane. You saw the demon full action there, and like the CGI was also great, dude. I love the CGI in
Yeah,
this movie. Very good.
yeah,
Not very horror movies. They're not, it's not always over the top good, or anything like that. Usually they don't care too much about it, but this one, was good visually. Um, and then I love how we didn't see her death though. It
yeah.
was the camera's focused on the audience. We hear it, she's smashing that microphone into her head, but did you see their faces and how they just went from like super happy to see their favorite star to like just beyond terrified. I love that.
I love it too. And like the CGI, I mean, in that scene, we get to see the entity and all the best light. I mean, the light of a stadium on it. And
Hmm.
just that scene with CGI and just ripping through her body and everything is very gruesome, and it's very detailed. And I think that's another thing that they did better than the first one, because I don't think the CGI in the first one was the best. I mean, especially I think about this one scene that a lot of people like, but I didn't really care for. And it was whenever her sister's like coming at her in the car where she's crying, and then her head like pops down from the
Yeah.
window. And it's just like, it's creepy, yeah, but it's just like they could have done a little bit better on it. And then in this one, I mean, I think everything was just it was just as good as it can be. Of course, this isn't a perfect movie, but I think that a lot of things were a lot better than the first, and I think that this was probably the best horror movie of the year so far.
Yeah, it definitely was, man. I loved it. It was, dude, and it's definitely. I hope spawns another one, a sequel to this, Smile 3, and because like you said earlier, man, all those people in attendance at that concert. So now the entity has all these minds to feed off of. Like, so it's like they can really go a couple different directions. I'm interested to see how that works. So
Yeah, I think it is too. I think you either on one hand got a direction that they could go in where they find a cure somehow because everyone now is going to know about it. It's not going to be a select few people that are conspiracy theorists figuring it out. Everyone's going to know about it. So maybe they find a way to kill off the entity, or it's going to be one of those trilogies that ends where the bad guy wins and we could just be seeing the entire population just smiling and either killing themselves or just everyone lives with it in their heads from day to day life. But I think that either way, it's going to be a good ending. So if they do it right, if they do it right.
If they do it right, yes. And I think, if Parker Finn is going to be behind the camera again, I think so. I didn't know too much about him until he did like a short film a couple of years ago. That first movie actually was based off of, from what I read. But he did a good job, with both of them, and I hope that they make another one. Seeing how things are going right now with Smile 2 seems likely. Um, so, I'm looking forward to seeing that eventually, and doing, this again with that movie.
Oh yeah.
But Nick, I mean, other than that, man, I mean, any last minute thoughts? Anything you didn't like about Smile 2?
Oh,
Um,
oh, um, didn't like about it.
I know, man, hard to find, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back too because I mean I saw this like 3 weeks ago. This 2 or 3 weeks ago at this point. Um, is there anything you didn't like? Maybe it'll pop something in my mind.
I honestly, man, I mean, I don't know, man. I honestly, I feel like we probably could have got a little bit more. I don't know. I want to say on Sky. I mean, like I know how we kind of jumped to present day with her, but I thought like just a little bit of exposition. It's a little bit more with her. I think would
Yeah,
have been good. Not overly, because that's the movie's got to focus on, obviously the curse and everything. She's dealing with that,
yeah.
but I think that'll be something for me. Um,
I think I do agree with you on that, and I think that kind of makes me think on they've done it in the first movie and they try and do it in the second one with Morris, but like we just need a better explanation of like how this spawned in. Like we need like more backstory on the entity itself. Like even if they would just like have these victims like relatives or something like Morris, like give it a name. Because there really is no name to it. There's no like origin. You just kind of know like the pattern
mhm.
that it goes in and like they kind of like explain it, but maybe they're saving that for the third one, or something like that. But I think that they could have done that a little bit better. And also I there's a scene that like my friend who I saw it with really liked, and I don't think it was awful, but I just think that like they could have made it a little bit weirder in a way. I don't know. It's this the scene where like she's in her apartment and then like all the people are smiling at her and they're just kind of like trying like tracking her every movement or like crawling on the walls and stuff. I think it was creepy. I think it was weird, but I just it wasn't the best scene in the movie to me. I don't know. That's just me personally. I think that I don't really know what they could have done differently in it, but I think that the scene where like the one dude smiling like naked in the hallway, that was a lot more weirder than those people being choreographed into chasing her. But that's just a little like nitpick. Like I would keep that movie or I would keep that scene in the movie any day, but it was just something I was just like, okay, like it was probably like the least scariest thing in the movie.
Yeah.
But just because it just like it made me want to laugh instead of like being creeped out. That's the only thing I could really say. That's just I think that proves how good of a movie it really is. Like, is it worth a rewatch to like nitpick at things? Yeah. But after first viewing for both of us, like to not have really bad things to say, I think that proves why it's a really good horror movie.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I agree with you on that too. That scene, yeah. It was interesting for sure. And then the hallway scene with the guy was really good though. I like that. Stalker. So yeah, I like I said, I think definitely, a little bit more on the entity, it's like where I kind of compare it to, I don't know if you've seen the Quiet Place movies.
I've seen
but
the second one. I know. What is up with me, dude? I've seen the second one, but not the first one. I kind of know what it's about though. But
yeah. And then of course they made like a recently day one, of course, that movie being about the first day those monsters arrived here. I watched that one. It was underwhelming. But
what I've
what I
heard.
was going to say, the reason I brought that franchise up is because it's as good as a franchise as it is, at least the first two films. I still thought like we didn't get much origin as to what those things were. Just that they came to Earth, they hunt by sound, right? Same thing here is like you said, like where did how did this thing where did it come from, what is it, I just want to know that, and so hopefully someday we'll figure that out maybe in the third movie like you said.
Yeah, or it's just director's choice to have the fans guessing forever, which
Maybe.
not awful idea. Leave people guessing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, nothing wrong with that either. Just it's it just, man, I just really want to know. But like I said, maybe that's for Smile 3, and we'll see who, how that works. But other than that, man, like you didn't have anything else to do. Like I said, I think that pretty much wraps us up here. Like I
Yeah,
said,
man.
I enjoyed it, man. Great performance all across the board. Like I said, Scott did a good job in the lead role, and I hope she gets more opportunities because of this.
Of course.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Jay. I really appreciate this, man.
yeah, man, that's no problem, bro. Thank you for coming on, man. Like you said, we've been meaning to do this, so I'm glad we finally got to it. But yeah, make sure you guys check us out, Jace Flakes, and I got some more things I gotta review here. Got the second part of Outer Banks coming out this week on Netflix, so I gotta review that as well.
Ooh.
And Nick, at some point, man, you got a lot of stuff you gotta watch, man. So we can come back on and talk about these things. So you gotta
Yeah.
get caught
Give me.
up.
So if I gotta catch up on Outer Banks, give me like 2 years and I'll be back.
2 years, come on, man. Johnny would not be happy to hear that, dude. He'd be happy to hear that. Um, but okay, yeah, man, yeah, for sure. I'm gonna hold you to that. Yeah, man, that'll wrap us up, dude. Nick, thank you, and
Thank
we
you.
will see you guys next time on Jay's Flicks.